Mission accomplished.
Seat as though I was like, pleasure to meet you, Your Majesty. Like, was that okay?
But wait, there's more.
The conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title. And also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
Hold up.
Hold up.
There's
Stop
several
right now.
there's several conversations.
There's a
about
conversation with you
with Harry
about how dark your baby is going to be?
potentially and what that would mean or look like.
Oprah, they're so racist. That's not racist. Because even black people want to know. How brown the baby gonna be?
That conversation I'm never going to share.
Ooh, this is uncomfortable.
We'll talk when we get home.
Hello, sister friends, and welcome to our revenge night. Cheers. All right, I hope you all have your tea on or your hot toddies or whatever it is that you would like. I am going to tonight I'm going to reread the last page that we read last time because it kind of flows into the rest of this chapter. I look like I have dog ears after I put this thing in. Doesn't it look like yeah, who cares? All right. I got bigger problems to deal with in the world. Here we go. Hello, Joni, Nadine, Wendy, Nicole. Anyone else in the house here yet? Pam is here. Hi, Pam. Joni, Wendy, Nicole, Pam. Okay. Hello, you guys. All right. 76 where Wendy is. Hi, Meg. We have the craziest weather. No joke. It was in the mid 80s the other day. And the next day, I'm not joking, the next day, it was 56. Like if you don't have a 40-degree temperature difference, you don't know what it's like to wait 5 minutes and the temperature will change. Oy, oy, oy. So you can see my sweater. It is a chilly day today. So I am warmed up in my sweater. Okay. Also have moved my space heater into this room. So sometimes it gets chilly in this room. Okay. All right. That's that. Let's get going. Revenge. Second half of the chapter. Sorry, I had the wrong time on it for all of you that it said 11. I don't know. It defaulted to that time and I didn't recognize it. I forgot to change it. I wish it would just be blank and then say you need to put a time in, but it doesn't. So it was a weird time, like 11:42 or something. I'm like, how come I don't have? I'm like, what? So I'm like frantically trying to do that. And then I realized I never had the thumbnail for the SOS exclusive thing that's in the next hour or so. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's get reading. This was getting good, wasn't it? Okay. Few realized that the Sussex's assault on the media was a foretaste of a full frontal attack on the royal family. An ITV documentary, Harry and Meghan, An African Journey, was filmed by Tom Bradby during their tour. Transmission was scheduled for a date that was 2 weeks after their return on the 18th of October. The broadcast coincided with the Cambridge's official visit to Pakistan. Not only was that visit critically important for the British diplomacy, it was also intended to showcase Kate's transformation during her maternity leave into a more glamorous, self-confident woman. With a more youthful, lighter cut of hair and a new wardrobe, Kate had been helped by Virginia Chadwick Keeley, a former Vogue editor and stylist, to match Meghan. Simultaneously, under Kate's influence, William had emerged as a calm heir, the people's prince. To focus the media's attention on the couple, Harry was asked to delay the broadcast of the ITV documentary. He refused. He threw a temper tantrum. That was judged to be a wanton sabotage of the Cambridges and the government. An almost unnoticed casualty was another TV documentary crafted to promote Camilla. In planning An African Journey, Tom Bradby, a journalist sympathetic to the brothers, had planned to portray the Sussexes' experience of the continent's horrendous problems. He had become, I lost my place. He had become friends with Harry while filming a documentary in Lesotho after Harry left Eton. Accompanied by Bradby's film crew, Harry had posed in Angola with children who had lost their limbs to landmine explosions. Bradby had also filmed Meghan meeting girls who had survived wartime abuse, including multiple rapes. Whether those events matched Diana's homily, "Anywhere I see suffering, that is where I want to be, doing what I can," was debatable. Neither Meghan nor Harry chose, as she had done, to actually confront the misery and console the homeless, sick, and dying in shelters, hospitals, and hospices in Britain. More pertinently, in Bradby's film, the Sussexes chose not even to focus on South Africa's human tragedies. I guess it was just an opportunity to get in front of a camera. The Sussexes decided to use the African backdrop to express pain about their own plight. Anxious to display his vulnerability, Harry retold to Bradby, I always want to call him Bradby, how Diana's death had brought him repeatedly close to a breakdown. The trauma of walking behind his mother's coffin in public reminded him of the bad stuff and a wound that festers. He continued, "I think being part of this family, in this role, in this job, every single time I see a camera, every single time I hear a click, every single time I see a flash, it takes me straight back. So in that respect, it's the worst reminder of her life as opposed to the best." Then Harry made his bombshell revelation. His relationship with William was fractured. "We're on different paths at the moment." Just why Harry exposed the family's turmoil at that moment in South Africa was hard to explain, except that he had been persuaded by Meghan's example of ghosting her father, her family, and her lifelong friends that all relationships are dispensable. Convinced that the audience also wanted to hear about her suffering, Meghan provided the more explosive interview. Standing in falling light outside a township of untold deprivation, she dramatically bit her lip while whispering to Bradby about how vulnerable she felt during her pregnancy, how the pressure was so hard, and the experience of just trying to be a new mother or trying to be a newlywed was made really challenging. As tears welled up, Meghan regretted that she had ignored the warning from American friends that the British tabloids would destroy her life. And I very naively, I'm American, we don't have that there, thought. This is one of his cleverly written sentences. It's very kind of confusing to read aloud. Okay, the British tabloids would destroy her life. And I very naively am American. We don't have that there, thought. What are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. I didn't get it. In all fairness, I had no idea. It is a really bizarre sentence, but that's what it says. Moving on. Brad B failed. Basically, she's pretending like she's too naive of an American to understand all this paparazzi because we don't have such things there. No, Meghan, you had no such thing because nobody cared who you were. Brad B failed to ask the 38-year-old whether she had ever heard of the National Enquirer's devastating expose of famous Americans. Nor did he ask her to name one untrue tabloid story to justify her lament. He should have. Who is this Brad B guy? He's a horrible reporter. Instead, Brad B nodded as she muttered, I tried. I really tried to adopt the sensibility of the British stiff upper lip, but I think what that does internally is probably really damaging. I never thought this would be easy, but I thought it would be fair. Fair. It's not fair. You're getting too much, Meghan. Somebody needs to crack down. Give you a little smack across the face and wake you up. Wake up. Throw a pot of cold water on her, maybe. Okay, moving on. Would it be fair, asked Brad B, to say that she is not really okay? Her life has really been a struggle? Another tear fell as Meghan replied with a swipe at the royal family. Yes. And also, thank you for asking. Because not many people have asked if I'm okay. But it's a very real thing to be going through behind the scenes. It's like a quote from Hillary Clinton. Remember when Hillary Clinton was running for president and somebody asked her in a coffee shop, how are you doing? And she's like, oh, and she started to tear up. And she's like, thank you for asking. Nobody asked me. Meghan's like quoting Hillary right here because she doesn't have an original thought. You can go back. It's so funny. There's TikToks out there and YouTube shorts that show hunks, sentences, concepts all together, and then who wrote it in an expose or what magazine it came from or what other speech it was plagiarized from. Like, she doesn't have an original thought. She just spews out, which is probably why it all makes no sense because I don't even think she understands what she's saying. She just memorizes stuff and then throws it out at random places. Okay. With a hint of more tears, she deftly added, it's not enough to just survive something, right? That is not the point of life. You've got to thrive. The audience was left to judge whether that eloquence had been rehearsed. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding? Rehearsed like probably 1,000 times over the past couple of weeks. Like, she was prepared. She's just waiting. Asked about her future, Meghan replied, I don't know. You do just take each day as it comes. Close by, South Africans took each day as it came to survive hunger, disease, violence. Meghan chose to say nothing about their lives. Talk about horrible timing and just being completely unaware of your surroundings, to choose this as the time to recite her memorized thing about how tough her life is in the royal family in Africa amongst, Bradby concluded that the Sussexes hoped to return the relentless media interest in them into a positive force for good. But, he added, it became increasingly apparent to me the depth of their unhappiness and that and that what I was recording was to be their exit from public life. After spending so much time with the Sussexes, the journalist would have been aware of Harry's sentiment. I did what any husband and father would do. I needed to get my family out of there. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You just needed to have a wife who was nice and got along with people. You have to pull her out. You're going to pull her out of everything because she didn't get along anywhere. Now she's cut off your family. She's cut off her own family. She's cut off all her old friends. What's left? Every time she makes a new friend, it ends up in dismay. We hear nothing about Oprah anymore. We hear nothing about Tyler Perry. In fact, he threw a diss on stage about the grifters. She's ruining relationships with brands and companies. Spotify, Lemonada. I don't know whatever happened to that. Netflix, they've kind of kicked her to the door. They just sort of said, if something great comes, we get the first chance at having it. Other than that, you do you, boo. Bye-bye. We're not working with you anymore. And she considers that a win. That's how she's spinning it. It's good that she can now branch out and do other things, not be restricted to the format that Netflix has. Meanwhile, Netflix just did a thing on Victoria Beckham. Quite good. There was one on David Beckham too, because somehow it got mixed up in my thing. All of a sudden I'm like, wow, this Victoria Beckham thing has got a lot about David Beckham in it. Maybe it was the Beckhams. Maybe it wasn't Victoria Beckham. And then I got to the last episode and then it said, do you want to watch episode 2 of the Victoria Beckham one? I'm like, well, how did I end up starting watching the David one? I obviously never watched episode 1 of the David one. I don't know what happened in Netflix. I ended up having to watch both of them, which was fine because they were both very interesting. I really didn't know a lot of the story, but they were very well done. And it makes me think, gosh, there is just nothing to this Meghan girl that she looks as boring, as bad as she does. The only thing interesting and that got views on her interview was throwing mud at the royal family. Other than that, there's just nothing interesting about her. And there's nothing she's done. Like what Victoria has gone through in her life and what she built it's a fascinating story. It's done very well. I recommend it. Okay. Tomorrow's my last day for Netflix. So I feel like I had to finish those up and I did. And then there was a Charlie Sheen thing. I watched that too because it was only 2 episodes. Very curious about that. I didn't really learn a whole lot. All right. Moving on. When Hollywood blacklists you. That's right, Nicole. You're right. She's working with nobody now. Yeah, girl makes it big, Joni says. Stepping stones as she got to the top. Girl, go digger. Who struck it big time. Yeah, gold digger. This woman who claims to be like, besties now with Gloria Steinem and all that, and is all about women's rights and being independent and building your own stuff and that, has done nothing on her own. Daddy got her into good private schools in California. Daddy got her into a good private college in Chicago. Daddy got her some small parts on different things by calling up contacts and friends to get her little bit parts in different things, being that he was a lighting director in town. Then she hooks up with a producer. Producer becomes her husband, who gets her the Suits thing. She ditches him before the Suits thing ends, and she hooks up with a famous chef guy in Canada. Famous chef guy in Canada gets her into Soho House and all the places where she can meet other famous and wealthy people. Meanwhile, in the process of doing this, she's ditching everyone in her past, one after another. Family, friends, everybody. These are my people now. And then eventually, that connection in Soho House got her to eventually get to the point that she met Harry, at which point she decides to have the date with Harry, she ditches the boyfriend who she's been living with in an apartment together, like full-on boyfriend relationship, ditches him as soon as she gets a date with Harry. Now she's with Harry, and Harry gets her all this notoriety, and then now some of these shows on Netflix and Oprah and all that stuff. She's done nothing on her own. She's built nothing. She had a website called The Tig. Never heard of it. Don't think any of you have ever heard of it either. So couldn't have been that big. And she got rid of it as soon as she became royal. So either it was really bad and she was embarrassed by it, or just wasn't that good. Okay, moving on. Men have gotten her everything in her life, and she uses them for that. So there you go. Palace officials in London were now aware that Meghan's separation from the royal family was underway. Reports from their staff in South Africa confirmed the worst. Acknowledging the existence of a problem, a Kensington Palace spokesman merely said that the Sussexes were in a fragile place. To escape the pressure, the Sussexes would fly to California for several weeks, but would return to Christmas at Sandringham. William's original fear was materializing. Meghan had become a divisive agent. To please her, Harry had split from his old friends. Oh yeah, she made him get rid of everybody too. All his old friends, all his buddies, all his pals, gone. She didn't like them. And they didn't like her. He had even changed his telephone number without telling his family. He's a... Okay. William authorized an aide to tell the media about his hope that Harry and Meghan were all right. Among Meghan's cheerleaders was Jessica Morgan, a 26-year-old British writer. Meghan's interview, said Morgan, absolutely broke my heart. As a Black woman, Morgan sympathized with the Duchess suffering from feelings of rejection. She is not just a woman in the royal family, but a Black woman, she continued. That she has come and started to experience what I've been experiencing in Britain for the past 26 years is sad. But I'm glad they are speaking about it. This idea that you're rich, you don't get to be sad, is quite disgraceful. Okay, but are we talking about her being rich or her being Black? That whole statement made no sense. She first started off like she's having problems because she's Black. At the end of it, she's having problems because she's rich. Like, pick a cause. Stick to it. Otherwise, I just have to dismiss everything you say. Morgan spoke for many young women, especially those from diverse backgrounds. They sympathized with Meghan, a role model and a martyr. A martyr? Oh my goodness. Did she write that? It's not a quote, but I don't know if he's rephrasing what she said or if he's interpreting what she said. The young mother, oppressed by racism, was hailed for saving herself and Harry. Show me the oppression of racism that she went through. I mean, really. I know there was one instance in a newspaper that was horrible. Somebody had a drawing of a monkey. What else really was there? You're in the public eye. You're going to get made fun of for all kinds of things. Fergie got made fun of for being fat. Diana was made... What did people not like about Diana? I think they thought she was... I don't know, because I've always liked her. But I know that there were people who were against her at the time. Like, it's just, it comes with the territory. So they're going to find something. They probably would have not said anything and used racism at all had she not all of a sudden made it become a platform when she became royal. Because before that, she said she was never treated. Nobody even knew that she was biracial. She was never treated that way. She didn't identify that way at all. That was her words about how she was raised. And now all of a sudden, it's the most important thing, and she's suffering because of it, because she has to be a victim. So she's thinking, I'm going to jump on this bandwagon, but she just doesn't have anything to back her up. They just keep pointing to the same one instance. I'm like, oh my gosh, if one instance is, okay, I'm moving on. On the other side, Trevor Phillips, an outspoken Black commentator, criticized the assumption that Meghan was too fragile to handle the pressure. Jessica Morgan, he wrote, did not speak for the whole Black community. To suggest that Meghan was suppressed because of her color, argued Phillips, was an insult to her and to legions of women who, like her, had fought their way to the top. But Phillips's denial of racism in Britain, echoed by Priti Patel, the Asian Home Secretary, was derided by some Black activists who called them coconuts. So they're saying that she wasn't receiving she wasn't experiencing racism. And then the people who are fighting back are throwing out, I'm assuming that's a racist term, a coconut. I don't know. Is it? I've never heard it before. That's what I'm kind of trying to glean from what he's saying. Just kind of showing the irony of this entire conversation and this entire mantra that's going on. Quote, Meghan has made innocence look dirty, end quote, was the contrary opinion by a white commentator. Her sense of victimhood annoyed those who recalled that in 2017, Meghan had agreed to accept the limitations and duties of royal life in exchange for privilege, financial security, and global recognition. Lest she forget. She forgot. Gina Nelthorpe Cowan was among those furious about the ITV interview. Quote, she made me laugh out loud. I know when nonsense is nonsense, and this was demonstrable rubbish. Meghan was a grown-up woman when she met Harry. She had gushed in my car, quote, we're going to change the world, end quote. She meant that she wanted to rule the world. The next shot was fired by someone close to Meghan. Max Foster, CNN's royal correspondent in London, was told by a source that the palace had no idea how to make the most of the Sussexes' potential. Quote, the institution around the British royal family, Foster reported, is full of people afraid of and inexperienced at how best to help harness and deploy the value of the royal couple, who they said have single-handedly modernized the monarchy. The CNN report led British news broadcasts. Meghan's voice was loud and clear. The monarchy's fate, she thought, depended on her. Her critics were again bewildered. In the 3 years since she first met Harry, Meghan had clearly not grasped that the Queen had been modernizing the 1,000-year-old monarchy since 1952. Under her direction, the family worked in unison as a team. Had Meghan heard the Queen's last Christmas message, quote, as we all look forward to the start of a new decade, it's worth remembering. I can't do British accent. I got to listen to it I should be listening to some British tape so I can put a British accent in here. I just don't know it. I just don't hear it ever. Okay. It's worth remembering that it is often the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring about the most lasting change. Yeah, Meghan missed that one. Yeah, she was busy that night. She couldn't listen to Granny. Morgan skillfully concealed the widening gulf between herself and the palace 2 days after the ITV broadcast. In a professional performance, she walked across the stage at London's Royal Albert Hall as a vice president of the Queen's Commonwealth Trust to celebrate the opening of the One Young World Summit. 5 years earlier, the co-founder, Kate Robertson, had slotted Meghan into the Dublin event to give the ambitious actress a break. Now, Robertson welcomed the Duchess as a, quote, a global champion for the rights of women and girls, activist and philanthropist, end quote. I want to see what kind of philanthropy this woman has done, Miss Meghan, since leaving the British royal family. And we know that she only did a fraction. And by a fraction, I mean like 1/25 of the amount of work that everyone else that was a working royal was doing, a full-time working royal. But even at that, since she left, how much philanthropy has she done? I don't know. Because she takes cameras with her everywhere. So I find it, I mean, I know she's not doing anything on the down low. No way. I mean, even when there's fires in California, she took a crew with her to just go there and look at them and talk to everybody who is homeless now because her houses all went up in fire. Like, she can't not go anywhere without a camera. She calls cameras all the time. She can't go to a restaurant. She can't go to a hotel. Hello, it's Meghan Markle. Be out there at this time. I'll be walking out acting surprised. All right. Anyway, bugs me to call her a philanthropist if it's like before it was her job and she didn't even do that. A real philanthropist just does it because they want to give, to do good in the world. This woman just wants to make money. The sympathy Robertson showed for Meghan was shared by 72 female MPs. Led by Labour MP Holly Lynch, the cross-party group expressed in an open letter their solidarity with Meghan as fellow women in public life. They sympathized with her struggle to cope with the pressure of being in the royal spotlight and criticized what they claimed were outdated colonial undertones of stories written about her in the national press. The newspapers' descriptions of the Duchess's character, wrote the MPs, were distasteful and misleading, and they failed to accept your right to privacy. Accusing the media of seeking to tear a woman down for no apparent reason, the MPs claimed an understanding of the abuse and intimidation which is now so often used as a means of disparaging women in public office from getting on with their very important public work. The same day, Meghan telephoned Lynch to thank her. There was a thought that came to my mind when I was reading this. What was it? I can't remember what it was. It'll come back. If it's important, it'll come back. To some, it appeared that Meghan was becoming a prosecutor of the royal family. The nation's divisions about Meghan and Harry hardened. Depending on age, gender, race, and politics, they were either applauded or condemned. Meghan's supporters were skeptical about the monarchy's so-called tradition of service, duty, and impartiality. Viewed through the prism of privilege and misconduct, not least by Prince Charles and Andrew, they preferred Meghan's brand of feminism, environmentalism, and wellness. Her supporters identified with her hopes, fears, and insecurities. Any disparaging reports about her were dismissed as racist prejudice. Convinced that she was still misunderstood, Meghan invited Byron E. Gordon, the sympathetic Daily Telegraph journalist, to join her at Luminary Bakery in Camden Town in North London. The bakery employed vulnerable women. To express her sympathy, Meghan put on an apron and, while decorating cakes, listened to the women's accounts of their difficult lives. In less than 2 hours, Gordon was convinced that Meghan was not that much different from the rest of us. She was, Gordon believed, a doer, not a wallower. She didn't want people just to love her, but to also hear her thoughts. Oh, well, that's rich. I don't know an original thought that came from Meghan, honestly, that doesn't come across as if it was scripted and decided ahead of time. When she gets a spontaneous question that she's not prepared for, she has a rote answer to a different question that she just gives. It's like, what? But that didn't answer the question. And there's been no good interviewers that come back and say, but going back to what we were saying before, back to my original question. No. She's not challenged on anything. I don't see any thoughts of hers. What's she talking about? Gordon, I mean, she likes to talk. I'll give you that. She likes to be in the media. She likes to be quoted, but she just says a bunch of gobbledygook nonsense. Gordon swooned as Meghan described humanity being like a wounded creature that needs to be healed. But the journalist failed to identify the contradictions in Meghan's recent ITV interview. She had told Tom Bradby of her own desire for sympathy. Like Bradby, Gordon agreed to label Meghan as the solution, not the problem. Like Bradby, Gordon never asked Meghan whether she had understood that royal service demanded personal sacrifice, or wondered whether Meghan would have visited the bakery without any publicity. I swear this guy is saying exactly what I'm saying right after I say it. I have not read this, I swear. Gordon did not ask whether her visit to the bakery was to help the women or to help Meghan. Yeah, showing up at a bakery that is run by underprivileged women or impoverished women or disabled women or whatever it might be, showing up and getting your picture taken while talking to them and stroking their shoulders and looking at them like this does nothing for anybody but Meghan. Do something. I haven't seen her do anything yet. Still waiting. She might have. Point it out when I see it. I just haven't seen it yet. Was she genuinely compassionate? With considerable experience, Meghan knew how to craft her image. She posted on @SussexRoyals Instagram account a quotation by the American author Leo Buscaglia, something like that. Too often, we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around, end quote. Meghan's detractors wondered what sympathy she had shown towards her own father. And what about her kindness towards the Queen and the royal family? Good questions. Infused with American identity, Meghan had abandoned any pretense of interest in British culture. Endorsed by the Obamas, the presidential Joe Biden, and the Clintons, she had become, in America, a courageous, radical hero of her era. Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton were her icons. That's why she quoted Hillary Clinton. Yeah, she follows her. Got it. In early November, Hillary Clinton visited Meghan at Frogmore. As Meghan unloaded her anxiety, not least about the tabloid press, Clinton offered unqualified understanding. Meghan's treatment, the politician believed, was, quote, heartbreaking and wrong. In Clinton's opinion, Meghan's meteoric rise had been spectacular. Living in the spotlight with every move either scrutinized or distorted by racists was difficult. Comparing the similarity of a life as U.S. president with that, well, she wasn't a president. Oh, maybe she's just talking about her husband. All right, comparing the similarity of a life as U.S. president with that of a member of the royal family, Clinton believed that the Sussexes were struggling to have a life of meaning and integrity on their own terms. Okay. 2 weeks later, the next stage of the Sussexes' departure from Britain was announced. Officially, they would not spend Christmas, after all, at Sandringham. I'm so glad because I have a difficult time saying Sandringham. Hope it doesn't come up many more times. They would stay instead for 6 weeks in Millefleurs, a newly fortified 5-bedroom waterfront mansion on Vancouver Island, guarded by 6 protection officers. Their stay as guests of a then unnamed American-Russian billionaire, later to be revealed as Yuri Milner, had been arranged by the 71-year-old Canadian music producer David Foster. 5 times married, Foster was a friend and neighbor in Santa Barbara of Oprah Winfrey and occasionally appeared on her program. He was also a friend of the Mulroney family. Oh, so he's friends of the Mulroneys and, well, Oprah, not Meghan yet, but obviously Meghan now because he helped arrange for her to get the mansion to stay in for 6 weeks at Christmas. You know, can you imagine? I don't care how difficult your job is to be able to take 6 weeks and just go live in a mansion just because you want to. She's so privileged. Gosh. She's no idea. That is more than most people get for total vacation for a year. And she's just decided to, just for Christmas, we're going to celebrate it for 6 weeks in a mansion with guards. Okay. The Sussex's spokesman briefed that the couple would establish a presence in the Commonwealth country. From Vancouver, said her spokesman, Meghan could resume her business activities. Most assumed that Canada would be the location to launch their new lives and careers. I mean, it would make sense. It's part of the British Commonwealth. Few speculated, although she couldn't get farther away from Britain than to go to Vancouver Island. Like, she's practically in Alaska. How far away can you get? You're almost halfway around. Man, just continue going on. It'll be quicker to just continue on to get back to London, going around the world. All right. Wow. This is like a 6-hour flight away from the other side of Canada. Anyway, but very close to LA. Just saying. Very close. All right. Few speculated that it was the convenient halfway stop while finalizing their exit from Britain. Located in the same time zone as Los Angeles, coincidence. Meghan was in constant communication with Andrew Mayer, her business manager, Rick Renault, her lawyer, and Keeley, Thomas Morgan, and others at Sunshine Sachs. That's her agency, I guess. Top of the agenda were the Is it really? I forgot. I didn't even realize. Sunshine Sachs, that's her agency, isn't it? I've never heard of that agency before reading it in this book. And my daughter worked for an agency in LA. I think it was considered the second most popular agency. There's WME, which I think was number 1, and then she was at UTA, United Talent Agency. So I'm familiar with agencies because she would do the agency talk all the time about different agencies. She had friends that graduated that were working at different agencies and everything. Never heard of Sunshine Sachs. Okay, top of the agenda were the continuing negotiations with Netflix and Spotify and the re-registration in Delaware on the 22nd of October 2019 of Frimfram Incorporated, the company behind the TIG. Their new Archwell Foundation, meaning Source of Action, had already been registered in Delaware. Simultaneously, Gannett had registered in Delaware a corporation called Loving Kindness Senior Care Management Incorporated. The corporation was run entirely by Doria Ragland. She ran a senior care management center? Where are her qualifications? Curious. Curiouser and curiouser. The corporation was run by Doria Ragland. Unlike Doria being Meghan's mother, for those who might be jumping in. Unlike California, Delaware guaranteed secrecy for corporations' financial activities and accounts. Okay. So if you want to cause fraud, register in Delaware. That's what she did. In parallel, Sussex Royal applied for trademarks on a range of products, including bandanas, newspapers, sportswear, pens, and emotional support services. Meghan consulted her Los Angeles team about the best terms for their departure from Britain. Buckingham Palace, she and Harry intended, should bear the blame for the fallout. It should in your world, but it didn't. In Britain, the palace understood that having rejected the Queen's invitation to visit Belmore in the summer, the Sandringham snub at Christmas was irrefutable evidence of Meghan's intention to relocate. Officials still believed to Canada. The Sussexes' willingness to conceal the rift while they secretly considered their ultimate move to California coincided with Prince Andrew's BBC TV Newsnight. We have Nightline in America, so my brain was trying to say Nightline. Newsnight interview with Emily Maitlis about the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and his denial of any relationship with Virginia Roberts. Andrew's lack of sympathy for Epstein's victims, his unconvincing denial that his incriminating photograph of himself with Roberts was genuine, and his absurd explanations of why Roberts' version of their encounters in a nightclub was untrue. The prince said he suffered a medical condition that prevented him sweating, and he did not drink alcohol. Oh, so that was his defense for why this Roberts story was untrue. I'll be honest, I never watched it, so I don't know. I just know that he's tied up with the wrong people. So I don't know what this Roberts lady accused him of, but he said no because he doesn't sweat and doesn't drink. That was his defense. So apparently it involved him being sweaty and drunk. Totally destroyed his credibility. Oh, because apparently he is sweaty and a drunk. Well, good for you, Andrew. Harry's going to go down the same road. Neither one of them are very smart, right? They can put their foot in their mouths way too many times. Worse, his misjudgment and lies jeopardized affection from the monarchy. The combination of Andrew's car crash appearance alongside Harry's ill-tempered contribution to the ITV provoked the Sun to urge the Queen to rescue her family before it was driving off a cliff with no one at the wheel. The curtain was rising on another royal crisis. The Queen, after consulting with Charles and William, took control. Convinced that Harry and Meghan would never resume normal life in Britain, the trio agreed that the monarchy's future should be focused on reinvigorating Brand Cambridge. That was made easier by Charles and William becoming reconciled over the previous months. Memories of their heated arguments, rivalry, and the resentment about Diana's treatment were buried. To avoid future disputes, they agreed that all foreign travel and duties would be planned to take account of their family life, and William would begin to manage the Duchy of Cornwall, the source of his future income. Most important, without any formal announcement, the monarchy would be slimmed down. The irritants, especially Andrew and Harry, would be removed earlier than planned. Their agreement, this is our last paragraph, people. Their agreement was conveyed by the Queen during her 2019 Christmas Day television broadcast. As Harry watched his grandmother from Vancouver, he was staggered. 4 silver-framed family photographs had been carefully placed behind her. They showed the Queen's father, George VI, Prince Philip, Charles, and Camilla. And finally, William and his family. Oh, so Charles and Camilla must have been in one. Okay. So we had George, the Queen's father, George VI, Prince Philip, Charles and Camilla, and then William and Kate and the kids. To Harry's fury, there was no photograph of himself, Meghan, and Archie. The Windsors were airbrushing the Sussexes from history. Well, they're still around, but they still got work to do if that's their goal. Oh, goodness. But that was a good chapter. Transit is the name of the next one. So this must be the actual departure, would be my guess, from the royal family. And the actual going to Vancouver and everything that happened with that. That's my guess. All right. Supposedly William has said he will do that once he's king. It includes, taking the title away. Includes Beatrice and Eugenia is right. Anyway, Archie and Lilibet. Take them all. They don't want to be part of the royal family. They don't want to work for the royal family. All they want is a handout. They're grifters. Cut them off. Let them just go do whatever they want to do. And then it's not a black mark on the royal family anymore. Like, he can always be the son of and the brother of, although I heard Charles is really sick. I think that cancer is really aggressive, sadly. But you can still love somebody from afar without letting them hurt you or take down your business or your livelihood, which is what Harry does whenever he goes over there. All right. And I think by virtue of Meghan not being royal to begin with and Harry choosing to step down and leave, I think that his kids are no longer heirs. It's just the way it is. It is what it is. Bye-bye title, I think. All right. I love you all. I got to run over to the SOS live stream. This was fun. Next Wednesday, 7 o'clock, no matter what the thumbnail says. 7 o'clock. Be here or be square. And adieu to all of you. Good night, sister friends.